So welcome everybody. And Sergeant Smith is on right now with us, and he also sent ahead of time the Intelligence to Action County Sheriff's Report that gives an overview of Siesta Key. So I think he's ready to go, and we'll get started because we got a lot of good stuff to cover today. So welcome everybody. Go ahead, Sergeant Smith.
Hey, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to hear from you guys again. Just like I do every month, I try to meet with you guys and give you the happenings of Siesta Key through the eyes of the sheriff's office. Catherine, were you able to get the report that I sent to you?
I did. Thank you so much.
So that's kind of the report. I don't know if you had it or able to give it out to people. That's kind of the report I get from our crime analysis, our crime analysts at the sheriff's office. But from August 1st through the 31st, we had 279 calls for service on Siesta Key. About 5% of them were listed under the persons or property crimes under the NIBRS. And as those, I through that report, I'll try to kind of research a little bit of the calls that go on and just so we can talk about them a little bit if anybody has questions. But as you can see from the numbers there and the little paragraph they put together for me, the most prevalent type of calls that we had in August were thefts. 69, they took up 69% of all the crimes we had. A couple stolen bicycles. One was unsecured, and two of them were secured. A couple other shoplifting cases in the village. A couple watches, which looks like they have some known suspects or potentially a moving company they had out there. But all in all, we're still staying around the same percentage. We're staying pretty good and pretty steady with what we see month in and month out. Things have kind of slowed down a little bit. It looks like, knock on wood, with, spring break, all the kids going back to school now. Looks like we're getting back to a little more normalcy as far as just the traffic out on the key and the amount of people coming out there on a daily basis. Like all those calls are there. Like I said, Catherine, I don't know if did everybody get a copy of that or?
No, it didn't go out.
Not yet. We were going to keep it on for the documents to support the agenda. I did not distribute it in time.
Okay.
But yeah, you can just reference it. That'd be just like you do. That'd be great.
Okay, perfect. So in that report, it has a list with all the different types of calls we go to. And like I said before, everything we go to, anything we get called for, there is a record of, and we keep track of. And so as far as what's happened in the last month, that's about what we got. But I wanted to follow up with what we talked about last meeting and some of the follow-ups with how we can start, or if we could start keeping track of some of the hotel houses that we had spoke about.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's just no way at the sheriff's office for us to track that type of residence. Like I said, if whoever calls in to complain, for us to go out, if they want to make a comment of that to the call taker or speak with the deputy and let them know and ask them to put that in the comments of the call that's what it is in reference to. Anytime that call gets pulled up or you want to pull up that case number, it'll be in there as part of the permanent record of us responding to the call. But it's just the way our system's set up, we don't have necessarily a way that we can put in individual notes that specific about the type of a residence we're going to. I hope that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does. And is this something that typically code enforcement officers would be capturing in part for vacation rentals that are illegal, things like that, the noise, things like that? That would be more in their domain, typically.
Yeah. Typically, it would. I think they would probably be the most appropriate to handle stuff like that. Not that I'm not saying that we can't do it.
They're not there at 11 o'clock at night.
Right, and that's where we come in, and we just have to get a little better about the communication between the two agencies, and and unfortunately, it will fall on you guys a little bit in the fact that we have to just, if you guys want to start your own list or compile a list of addresses that you think may be those type of residents, if they're going to be the hotel houses, then you can very easily reach out to the sheriff's office, and we'll give you every call we've been to in the last however long you want. You set a time period. We'll give you all the calls we've been out there on, and you can get a list of the comments and the reports and everything that's happened in that. I'm not quite sure how that record keeping is done on the code enforcement side, but I would venture to say they have something very similar to what we have as far as the record keeping and what they're doing in active cases or inactive cases.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Say something? Could I say something?
Joyce.
What happens is code enforcement deals with if it's an illegal rental, but they're there 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Any issues that involve excessive noise, possibly illegal parking, or if it might be some sort of argument or something like that. And if it's out of the normal working hours, that's when the sheriff gets called. And code enforcement does record calls by addresses also. So that's, yeah, it's sort of a similar type of call recording. So that's, the way those things work.
But Joyce, I just want to say they do remove duplicate calls.
Yes, code enforcement.
Yes.
Yes, so
So if 5 neighbors are calling to complain about a hotel house, only 1 call will be logged in.
yeah, it all gets
Wow.
melded into kind of like one report.
Well, there's another.
That's different than the sheriff.
It seems one of the primary things is the disturbance factor, and things that are risky or dangerous are certainly not part of a routine neighborhood when there's children and families that go to school and go to work every day. That is part of it. But the other part of it, and I think we're going to start seeing maybe some action on this, and maybe that's something we can always ask about from our commissioner. But I do understand they're looking at ways to track rentals that appear to be not part of the county tax gathering, where they are supposed to be considered applicants as part of that. And there might be some ways to start tracking that, because whenever people aren't properly registered as renting, you often have a little more mayhem, I think, at those homes, because they're basically undocumented. There's nobody that we know who's there. The owner may not live nearby. There might be a lot of things that if it's an Airbnb rental, they have rules, but they need us to tell them if they are being followed. So I've seen some background information being shared that I think is going to be brought forward at a commission meeting soon about that possibility of finding alternative ways of tracking those kinds of rentals and things that keep coming up, and see if they match in some way. So maybe we'll hear more about that the next time. I had one thing. Yeah, Sheriff, I was hoping you would tell us what happened with the big crash that Sunday, that you were so kind to take my call, and you had be on the lookout out that Sunday morning. And I know he was arrested, but has no one ever heard what happened to the person who was hit head on?
I apologize, because I'm not quite sure what happened on the other side of that. I spoke with you that morning, and I followed up with the people working that day just to kind of get an idea of what was going on, and just to make sure that the gentleman was apprehended and he wasn't still on the loose. But I didn't follow up with necessarily what happened with the other end. But I'll look into that and get back with you on it, Catherine, for sure. One of the things I wanted to just to point out is that if you have a problem with the hotel houses, you have a problem with anything, by all means, we are here 24/7, 365 days a year. If you have an issue, please call the sheriff's office. That's our job. We're here to help, and we want to help. And I feel free to speak even on behalf of the sheriff for that. That's what we want to do. We want to be here to help provide the best community service that we can for the great community that Siesta Key is. Our only limitation really with that whole thing comes into is the tracking of those certain types of calls. So you can't, what I was trying to say is we can't really just call the sheriff's office and ask, hey, can you tell me every call you've been to at a hotel house? Well, we're not going to have that information. But if you know what the hotel house is, you know the address, and you say, hey, can you give me every call that you've been to at this address? Then by all means, we can do that. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Like, if you have an issue, whether it's noise, whether it's an argument, whether you think that, just something suspicious is going on with any type of residence, a hotel house or not, by all means, you guys can call the sheriff's office and we will respond out there to figure out what's going on.
Sergeant, I just want to say one thing, and thank you so much for addressing hotel houses. I have done that. I've gone to the sheriff's office and I've pulled the record on my next door neighbor that's running a hotel house. Unfortunately, not all the calls were documented. So I just want to throw that out there. We were instructed, I believe, on a previous meeting to ask that it be recorded for the record, but it doesn't automatically get recorded. I learned.
That would be news to me, because as far as I'm aware, anytime, if, for instance, you call the non-emergency number of 911 and you want us to respond to an address, that's part of our sunshine law here in the state of Florida. That's part of a record that we have to keep for a certain amount of years. And there may not necessarily be a full field report associated with that call, but anytime we go there, it should be recorded, and we should have that information to be able to provide if anybody asks. And if it's something as small as I say that as small as, but if it's like a noise disturbance and you just want somebody to come and say, hey, turn the noise down, it's bothering your neighbor, and that's all you're looking for us to do on a certain call, even something like that, we will add comments to on our screen. It goes on the call screen. We'll put comments in on our computer and say, hey, showed up, spoke with the residents, asked them to turn their music down. They complied, no further issues. And that serves as the report for that call. And that should be a record that anybody should be able to get with a public records request from the sheriff's office.
And what will be nice is I think these, I don't know if you can see, but this is part of the report I got today. I wish I had it so I could show on the screen, but they have all the locations also throughout the whole key of what has occurred and what that means. And it's a summary. And then over here are specific accounts of the different incidents that occurred. So I think if we keep track of things like this and the folks that are working on the hotel houses match up with that, just know that we'll be able to capture more. And I think we can get that every month, right, Sergeant?
Yeah. Like I said, we should be, we can get it for month to month, you can get it for day to day or year to year, however, we should be able to locate that. And I'm not sure who it was that asked about, that we're talking about their neighbor. But Catherine, have them get with you, send me the information on that address, and I'll see if I can find some better information for them.
That would be great. Victoria, I know that Joyce has been working on that too with you. So I think you can do that. Be great. Thank you so much, Sergeant Smith.